You know, prom was a really, really bad time for me, and I really don't like to talk about it, but I'm gonna talk about it. Some of you out there might not know what prom is. I'm not sure if it's exclusively a Western country type of thing or whatever, but just in case, prom is this big event that's basically a fancy-ish dance that you get to go to in your senior/last year of high school. It's a means of celebrating the fact that you've come so far that you're almost done with school and letting loose before you're forced to enter into the real world. I don't know the official origin of prom, nor do I care to look it up, but that's the gist of it. I know junior proms are a thing as well, junior being the term for the students a year younger than seniors, but more traditionally, it's a senior thing. Many people look forward to prom. Heck, once upon a time, I did as well. But after some traumatic events with my ex-best friends, and that's trauma with a capital T, my previous happy-go-lucky, assertive, extroverted, charismatic, party-loving self did a 180 and no longer felt comfortable going to them. And yet, I got roped into it anyway, because tradition. Hello everyone, my name's Aloubell, and let's be honest here, as an introvert with undiagnosed selective social anxiety who dislikes large social events, going to prom was already a recipe for a bad time. But I wish that was my only issue. Nope! Take a ride with me as we go down the lane of a series of unfortunate events that led to a night I wish I didn't remember. By the time senior year rolled around, I only had a passing interest in the idea of prom, and only vaguely wanted to go. Not because I liked the idea of a party, more because it seemed to be a natural and necessary-ish part of a high schooler's life. Simply put, I didn't want to miss out. But at the same time, I was still riding on the depression of the fallout with my ex-friends, so my heart wasn't totally into it. I wasn't passionate about prom, and I enjoyed the thought that I had the freedom to not go if I really didn't want to. If only it were that simple. Not only was there the very subtle pressure from peers to go to prom, no pressure was directed towards me, it was kind of just in the atmosphere. And then there was the pressure from within my own family, one person in particular, who sort of expected me to go because both of my brothers went with pretty girls and took some really nice prom pictures. And me, being who I am, someone who wants to please others and has a hard time standing up for herself, I couldn't back out. My family and I were also kind of going through a really, really rough patch, so maybe part of me just wanted to go to ignore all of the bad things that were happening. So I ended up trying to convince myself that everything would be fine and that I'd have a good time. I had an idea of how I wanted the night to go. Just a cool experience in a new place, wearing a fancy dress I'd otherwise never wear, amongst a bunch of chill people to hang out with. Plus, my parents offered to rent a Hummer limousine for the event, so that sounded like a cool time. And so that was my first mistake, deciding to go. The second mistake came when it was time to find a date. No, it's not necessary to have a date, but I wanted the full experience. Plus, most, if not all, of the people I was going with had dates, so I didn't want to be a third wheel in any situation. Besides, the influencer in my family who wanted me to go to begin with really wanted those professional prom photos that one takes with a date in order to add to the collection with my brother's photos. Now, for finding a date, I started off this process being exceptionally confident in my prospects. There were 3 guys who had shown special interest in me, or at the very least were super nice. One guy was in my English class and for some reason always said hi to me specifically and was super nice. Surely he'd go to prom with me, but no. He said he wasn't going to prom. Spoiler alert, he lied. Okay, to be fair, maybe he didn't lie. He could have just changed his mind sometime after that conversation, but it still stung. The next 2 guys were in the school band with me, and one had this little teasing/flirting game with me where he'd pretend like he super liked me and I humored the thought. Aside from that, he was a nice and fun kid. I asked him to prom, and he also turned me down. The third boy and I liked to banter with and tease each other a lot, and we had a pretty decent chemistry. I asked him to prom, and he also said no. It was at this point that I was left dumbfounded. Was something wrong with me? Was I misreading all of these situations? What the heck am I going to do? And don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that I'm entitled to any of those guys saying yes to me. They can make whatever decisions they want, and it's not like I deserve it or anything. I'm not trying to say that. It's just, I was surprised is all. I'm not tremendously used to that much positive attention from guys, so I don't know, but you know, there's a lot of people out there. I know you guys can understand the feeling of rejection and how it does not feel good. So it's not about entitlement, it's just rejection doesn't feel good. I couldn't help but recall a point during my sophomore year of high school during which one of my peers asked me if I wanted to make a deal with him. He said that if neither of us had a date to prom our senior year, we should go with each other. Prideful me turned him down, mostly because I was not romantically interested in him at all, and the thought of just going with a mutual friend platonically just didn't cross my mind. Plus, I had this like fairy tale thought in my head that I would go to prom with someone I was super into romantically, and we would like, you know, ride off into the sunset or whatever, but not actually. But prom, in media, prom is always like this time where you can get all lovey-dovey and romantic and have it be this magical moment and stuff. So I never thought of the idea of going with a friend. When I was a freshman, I was of the hope that I would be going with like my boyfriend or something, the boyfriend that never came to be. So yeah, I turned him down. This boy and I had a frenemy type of relationship, also with teasing and banter throughout our years of high school. And so considering this relationship in which we were mostly hostile towards one another, it was weird to begin with that he was even asking me to prom. So naturally, I said no. By the time prom rolled around and I realized I had no date, this prom pact idea came back to the forefront of my mind. Unfortunately, said boy already found a date to the prom, so that was that. Ironically, had I gone to prom with him, I probably would have had a much better time. Still probably not the best time, but a better time. And so I was left with my last resort, asking my crush of 7 years. Now, this idea sounds super cute and all, but you must understand that this guy was dating my friend, and not just my friend, an upperclassman of mine whom I deeply respected, my senpai, if you will. These two had already graduated from high school at this point. They're both a year older than me. Both this guy and my senpai were aware for years of my feelings for him. The feelings had diminished in the last couple years of high school, but they didn't just poof away. This dude was honestly my last shot. Because if I didn't have a date after this, the influential force from earlier would have called up my cousin to take me to prom. In which case, kill me now. And for everyone who's cool with chilling with their cousins and just going for a fun time at prom, more power to ya, and I'm sure you'll have a ton of fun. But I wouldn't allow myself to do that. It felt wrong for me, personally, and I would have felt so pathetic. Even if none of my peers said anything about it to me, or even if none of them teased me, I no longer feel comfortable showing my face to them again. My self-esteem was already shot from the drama with my ex-friends, so I couldn't put myself through that. To be frank, I didn't have the option to just go by myself. At least, it didn't seem like I had the option. So, this last shot had to work. I essentially wrote my senpai an essay requesting that I borrow her boyfriend for prom. I had to assure her that nothing would happen and that I didn't like him as much as I used to. And as cool as she was, she allowed this. She was so cool. She was such a cool person. Oh, I really did admire her. She was really cool. Like, her and her friend were the top trumpet players, and I was a trumpet tier as well in the band, and they were like the best trumpet players. They were the leaders of the trumpets, and they kind of helped me grow in my trade of being a trumpeter. So I really did look up to them. I've known them ever since I was in 6th grade. Anyway, I don't know why I went on that tangent. Anyway, I then had to write yet another essay to convince this boy to go to prom with me, letting him also know that I asked senpai first. He was super chill about it and agreed. Thank goodness, I finally had a date. But this would end up being my second mistake. You'll find out why later. The next two oopsies aren't as deep of a story. I ended up getting a dress I didn't like because the particular influential family member said it looked good on me, and I couldn't refuse their choice. And this was followed by me getting a hairstyle I didn't like for the exact same reason. So these were essentially the third strike. And now, let's add all of these bad elements together in order to give you a good picture of what kind of night I had to deal with. But before I do so, guess what? This is my 100th video. Yup.
But ALLLL, didn't you already make over 100 videos? Also, why did the number of videos analytic at the top of your channel page change?
Ignore all of that. Because of reasons, this is now officially the 100th public video.
But ALLLL, how come this story sounds super familiar?
Well, it should, because it's a remake of my very first video on this channel. Hitting video 100 is super insane, and when I first started 2 years ago, 100 seemed so far away. And now it's here. I have all of you to thank for your support, and most importantly, I thank God for making each and every one of these videos possible. It's been a journey, and I look forward to what's to come.
Onwards towards the future.
Anyway, before I continue the story, if you're enjoying this video, then party hard by hitting the like button and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. If you want to support me even more, then click join and become a channel member where you can get cool perks such as, but not limited to, early access to videos as well as live streams. Becoming a member will help me in my dream of having a creative career and providing more entertainment for all of you. Follow me on my socials in the description, and be sure to join our community Discord, link also in the description. If you're still watching at this point, put the disco ball emoji in the comments. Thank you! Alright, so what's prom looking like? Well, I'm wearing a dress I both don't like and don't feel comfortable in, and my hair is not to my liking. Everyone says I look super nice, but I don't feel like it. In fact, I feel pretty bad. But the idea of the night is still getting me excited, so I'm going to shove those uncomfortable feelings into some deep, dark place and hopefully ignore them. You know what they say. If you have a problem, just suppress, suppress, suppress. After all, ALLLL, it's prom night. You're hanging out with some chill people, everyone is being nice, you get to ride in a Hummer limo. Who cares if you're super conscious of yourself and want to go hide under a rock? Everything is fine. Oh look, the boys have arrived and are here to meet up with their dates. My date is here as well. But oh no, I just remembered. I can't look this boy in the eye. Yup. Something I forgot to mention is that with having a crush on him for so many years and no progress getting made between us other than an awkward friendship, I developed some type of insecurity that gave me the inability to give him eye contact or even look at his face. Yup, totally normal date behavior. Fortunately, this boy knew I was awkward and was still super nice, which was cool, and I appreciate it. He was a champ throughout all of this, but things already weren't looking good since I couldn't even look at my date. Oh great, the parents now want to snap some photos of all of us with our dates. How fun! A semi-permanent means of remembering this night. Gotta love it. And now it's time to head to the prom itself. The Hummer ride? Super awkward. I mean, cool that I'm in a limo, but super awkward since I could barely talk to my date.
But ALLLL, how did you ask him to prom in the first place if you couldn't talk to him?
I typed out my promposal. No vocals were required. Alright, sweet, we're at the prom. Oh wait, I just remembered. I don't like parties. So what do? Do I dance and mingle with everyone that I know? Of course not, you silly fillies. I sat at a table all night, just watching people dance. My date sat with me and he chatted with my peers. Very, very fortunate that he was also friends with the people I went with. Again, he was super cool and never complained. He honestly deserved an award for dealing with me. I felt and feel so bad for putting him in that situation. Every now and then I talk to my peers, but for the most part, I do what I normally do at parties. Stay out of the way and feel sorry for myself. At some point, my date offered me a chocolate-covered strawberry, which I knew I wouldn't like, but I took and ate it anyway because I wasn't going to say no to his kindness. It tasted so bad. It honestly just rubbed salt in the wound. It was all a mess. Such a nice venue with good vibes, and I was the biggest letdown, all because of a snowball of bad decisions. I shouldn't have gone in the first place, but even still, I could have made wiser decisions, and even been more assertive in some aspects. Prom was a night I wish I could forget. My parents still have my prom photo and look at it fondly. They see it as a cherished memory of their little girl growing up and being in the peak of her high school career, when in reality they had no idea of all the drama I was dealing with at school. But as for me, I can't bring myself to even look at those photos. And to further add to the pathetic nature of that night, we didn't even get the professional prom photos done, because like I said, I camped out at that table. So the only photos that existed of that night were the ones that the parents took, which only further adds to my shame. I honestly want to burn those photos. Anytime they get brought up, or brought out rather, I never want to look at them. I don't even want to acknowledge their existence. And I was all too ready to give away my dress when I had the chance. I can't help but wonder what would have been different had I not had that falling out with my ex-friends. Would we have just gone together? Would I have been more outgoing? Was that the only problem? Would everything have been better if that didn't happen? Who knows? And honestly, I don't want to obsess over what ifs or have any regrets, really. That event is over and done with and has been for like 12 years now. I can't turn back time and it isn't affecting my life now. I promise you that I am not losing any sleep from this memory. It's a memory I cringe at, but it is still a part of my history and I have to live with that. And lessons can be learned from any situation, especially bad ones, such as don't let people pressure you or put you into situations you're not comfortable with, I guess. Now, what was the point of me telling you all this story? Well, 100th video, of course, but also it can be kind of cathartic, getting to talk about my problems in my past. Again, even though it doesn't really affect me now, but it's still nice to get it off my chest, Like I've kind of mentioned in past videos, I just sometimes just want to talk about myself. I did kind of start this channel wanting to be a Storytime, animator. Although this is now minus the animation part, but it's still fun to talk about. I kind of just sit and exist most of the time, just doing my own thing and not really talking about my feelings and stuff like that. So this is a nice outlet. And I do appreciate everyone who lends me an ear. And it's not like I don't have people around that I can talk to. I mean, I don't have a lot of people, but I know there's at least one person in my family who I can. But at the same time, I don't always feel comfortable talking to that person about it. It's not in me to really talk about my feelings. For some reason, it's easy to do it here. I guess not being faced with a face to talk to. And I can write a script, which makes it easier to articulate my thoughts in words, so it does make it a little bit easier. So again, thank you for listening. So now I open the floor to all of you. Did you go to prom? Do you plan on going? Would you even want to go? Why or why not? Do you have any fun prom stories to share? Comment below and let's get this conversation started. And remember, I'm the artistic Aloubell, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.